Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's the return of the movie!
I'm going to get a little stretch. And hello and welcome to the Return of the Movie, the podcast where we talk about sequels, reboots, and franchises. I'm Ben.
I'm Jose.
I'm Abraham.
Abraham, you look very upset.
Because you just yawned and stretched and then went right into the intro.
Yeah, I got to get my energy up. And sometimes you just got to let them out.
It wouldn't be the first show. But.
Yeah. This is not the first take, guys.
Yeah. Hey, shut up.
Sorry.
I don't need people to know that I can't do cold reads.
It's okay. You're doing great.
But, of course, we have to get the podcast started. But, of course, be sure to leave us an Apple Podcast review if you like this episode. And if you're on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us out on our small little channel and would mean the world to us. And if you like this and it's your first time listening to the podcast stream and you're not on that YouTube channel, drop by. It's youtube.com/
There you go.
Scope Productions. I had to make sure my dab was in frame, where you can find all of our video content, including full stop reviews, our bite-sized review show, and first timers. And yes, I do dab when I say slash.
I feel so sorry for the people who are watching the YouTube version.
If you want a reason to unsubscribe, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. But anyway, without further ado, this is a little bit of a normal mix-up. Abraham, what are we talking about?
Well, interestingly enough, live-action anime adaptations have always turned out great, you know? Full Metal Alchemist, Attack on Titan, Dragon Ball Evolution. The track record has been stellar thus far. And now Netflix decides to take a spin and up the ante with Death Note. And this movie has it all. Willem Dafoe reprising his role as the Green Goblin, nominated actor Lakeith Stanfield acting alongside the kid from the Naked Brothers band, and a well-written romance. Who even needs anime anymore when live action can do it so much better? Back to you, Ben.
You know, as my first time in one of these reads, wow.
Well, and that's the funny thing. When I knew you were when you said Nat Wolf, do you know where he's from? That's where this fucker's from. The Naked Brothers band. That's.
All right, I just learned something new.
It's not good. That should set the tone.
Yeah, so we're covering the Death Note movie, and we're going to be comparing it and contrasting it to its original source material. Normally, I would just ask what you think of this movie, but I know what the general audience piece is. So I'm going to just say, without giving away anything, how would you have changed this movie to make it better, other than casting Asian American people, and other than maybe putting it in its original setting?
I would go back in time and make sure the writers were shot. That's going to
be a comment.
That's going to be a comment.
And then there's a cut edited scene of Deadpool doing that.
Yeah, you just see.
All right, what's the cast list?
All right. Even though it says Matt's name on it. So our cast list for Death Note is Nat Wolff, Lakeith Stanfield, Margaret Qualley, Shea Wigham, Willem Dafoe, Jason Liles, Paul Nakachi, Jack Ettinger, Matthew Kevin Anderson, Chris Britton, and I didn't do any lookups of these names like Sanders.
Oh no! Oh no!
Totally fine.
These are the most American white people names you can find.
I nail every name I ever cover on this
No.
channel. Okay. My fun fact was about the Naked Brothers band, but another fun fact actually, even though this movie, the majority of it takes place in Seattle, a lot of it was actually filmed in Canada.
Probably cheaper.
That actually makes total sense.
Yeah.
I forget what city is right there. I'm sorry. I'm bad at geography. My girlfriend is going to fucking shoot me because
I don't know.
She's
Canada's
from
not-
this part of the world.
Canada's not real.
It's fine.
Yeah. So yeah, this movie's not good.
Yeah,
It's just terrible. Actually, it's really bad.
I mean, there are so many issues with this just from the ground up, and of course, like I think one of the only examples of a halfway, like, just borderline okay adaptation was Ghost in the Shell.
But yeah, that's just because of the budget.
That's just, it had a good budget. It had Scarlett Johansson attached to it. And I mean, everyone has rightfully been like, okay, you're taking the Asian stories and making them very white. And that pops up here, obviously. They move to set it in America, and they just straight up change the fact that they just straight up changed the character to be white, and that's kind of their justification, is that it's set in America. But it's set in Seattle, which has the largest person of color Asian population in the United States, period.
Is it Asian specifically, or is it people of color?
No,
It's Asian. Majority is Asian Americans of non-whites.
yes.
Yeah. So
Like-
like they literally had no excuse.
Yeah, it's
Also,
like,
Asian people live in America. Like,
exactly. It's not a thing, but it's Hollywood and Netflix just like to play it safe because they're scared that if they can't get the white people to watch the anime adaptation, it's not going to sell.
market demographics are not.
Terrible. Hollywood has historically had a problem with this where they don't understand who they're actually marketing to when they make adaptations.
Yeah.
So like they'll completely miss the point.
Yeah, they turn something that is marketed for someone into something that's marketed for someone else.
Exactly.
So.
Which is the reason why the stories don't necessarily make it all the way through. But before when we were doing our pre-tape conversation, one of the interesting things that has come up is how much this story suffers from the Americanization.
Yeah, what's interesting about this is that the tropes are, for the most part, not for the most part, some of the tropes do translate actually kind of perfectly. The problem is that those tropes just have different contexts in America.
Yeah.
So, for example, like Light is like a bookish type. He studies, he has good grades, and in Japan, that trope usually coincides with the popular kid. Like the top student is usually the most popular, whereas in America, people who are smart are usually looked down upon.
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
And that's easily implied in the beginning too, because the very first scene you see with Light, he's getting bullied.
yeah, like they're like the cheerleaders are like having their own thing, but he's doing somebody else's homework
Yeah.
or something. Yeah, it's just strange.
Yeah, he's cutting he's not like the most more, because in the original we see him and he's like, the way that it opens up is he believes that he's the most morally just person out there, and he's not technically doing anything wrong, but this guy is like actively, like, his dad calls him out in it in the beginning of just like, well, you got in trouble for fucking like making money off of people that need their like test or homework done.
Yeah,
Like, this is like, you are textbook doing something that you're not supposed to do, where like in the original it was very much a like, I do everything by the books, but also I'm better than everyone.
Perfect. Like he was the perfect child.
Yeah.
Like he got all the grades. His mother and him, like they were like having a great time, and then he got the power of God, which like basically like corrupted him.
Drastically changes the tone of the story. And I guess now's the time where we're going to dive in on how, because in the original story we're looking at this person that is perfect and believes he's perfect, and then the story is about how he's slowly, well, I mean, if you watch the original, he kind of has a little bit of a god complex in the beginning, or just I are holier than thou, but it evolves into a full like, I am Kira and this is who I am. And the Light in this just doesn't match that.
Yeah,
He's not, I mean, let's be straight, the Light in this movie is becoming a god to get pussy.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
I am wrong.
I know
But,
I'm
like,
not wrong.
At the very beginning, right before he starts getting pussy for it, it wasn't like entirely. It was like what anime Light was really want to do: get back at criminals and bring justice to the world, something like that.
Right.
And like once he start, and like it actually kind of continues a little bit throughout the movie that he's only targeting bad guys. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to skip right to the end, but like for his little scheme at the end, he's only using a sexually assaulting doctor and a child molesting mailman.
Yeah.
So,
and this movie does its best to kind of paint him as the protagonist instead of because the original Light Yagami is basically, we ended up kind of floating around a term earlier beforehand where anti-hero doesn't quite cut it, because anti-hero is more or less someone that is still ultimately a hero, but would be perceived as a villain in normal circumstances, i.e. Harley Quinn, Deadpool, Punisher. Yeah, like they're doing seemingly morally wrong things in order to get something that is really good, and like you can abjectly look at them as a hero. But we see a little bit more of like a Frank Underwood thing with the original Light, where he's more accurately portrayed as an anti-villain, someone who we follow and treat as the hero and protagonist, but is ultimately a terrible human being.
Yeah, it really only he really only stops becoming an anti-hero when the cops start like investigating him, and he feels like his authority is being tested.
Yes.
And he feels like he has to prove something to people, like saying like, no, I'm doing a good thing. How dare you try to stop me?
Yeah.
I can kill you at any point.
Yeah.
Which, that's
It's
pretty villainous.
It's a pretty interesting thing, but the way that they kind of try their best in order to approach getting this adaptation correct, and I'm going to use correct in the loosest terms possible, is they use Mia.
Yeah.
And Mia has been translated to this new section of being just kind of an all-around terrible person.
Didn't you have something to say about Mia before we started taping?
I do actually, yes. So in case it's not obvious for the people who have either seen this movie or joining in to hear us about it, Mia gets extensively horny whenever it comes to killing people, and like,
I mean, yeah, don't you?
hey, please, not on tape, please.
Oh shit, we're rolling.
We're on the internet.
But no, like seriously, one of the very first times, like they start like planning, they're watching like a live feed and like going through, hey, how about this guy? They're literally in the middle of making out, and like in I forgot the exact word for it, but it's like a sequence where they cut to them killing a montage. Yeah. They cut to people dying from them, and then like literally scenes of them having sex. So
it's weirdly intercut, and that's the reason why I'm like, Light's character has been boiled down from this person that entirely just wants power to just man wants putang.
Yep.
That is it. That is the only motivation that he has throughout the majority of the movie up until the third act.
I mean, hey,
I think that's
worse
probably
things have been done for the same.
That's probably the one thing the Americanization got right.
Yep. Actually, hardcore. Yeah, that's actually very...
Here's the thing. I think that it does work in that sense of if you're taking a look at it from an American standpoint. Like, yes, horny teenager kills a bunch of people to get pussy. I believe that 100%.
But you didn't need Death Note. The property. That's the thing. Like, you didn't need the property to tell that story. That could have been a slasher movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like they could have just been going out and murdering people who were bad guys.
Yeah. Honestly, that would have been. Could you imagine that as like a version of like that's a good story that would fit into like a Kick-Ass kind of universe, or a like even a Watchmen type thing if you're satirizing superheroes.
You do something for a girl and then you realize, oh no, she's crazy. I need to get out.
Oh no, I killed 400 people. Oops.
Officer, I swear it was for a good reason.
We dye the colors of red flags, people.
Yep.
But one of the interesting things is, for me, as far as this adaptation is concerned, is that they had to look at the original source material and then look at Light and Mia and say, we're going to reverse that.
Yeah.
Because that's what her role in the original story was she was just a Kira fangirl who got another Death Note.
Yeah.
And was like, I want to meet this man. And then nearly fucked everything up.
Yeah, but that's the thing. She doesn't fuck things up in the original anime because like she's a villain. Like she's just overexcited. She doesn't know the scope of
she doesn't understand what she found. Honestly, she does it for dick. That's the thing. Like,
yeah,
the
roles are reversed.
Yeah, it's completely. They decided to look at like, okay, we have two characters. One is horny and wants to meet the god, and one is the actual god of death. And then just swept them. Yeah,
I mean, I guess if you're like an executive, you're like, I guess I don't want my protagonists to be, or like the quote unquote like the main characters.
Hero. Yeah,
you don't want them to be villains.
Yeah,
and at least like that might be something an executive might say. I don't know. I wasn't in the room.
That's what this movie. And again, we have no proof of that, but that's what it feels like. Is they said that this story was too not friendly to audiences.
Yeah.
Even though it already had a massive following, which is one of the shocking things with adaptations is when you take a look at a really successful property that you are adapting and then take a look at the thematic elements in it and then say, fuck you, I'm doing the opposite.
Yeah.
that's pretty much exactly what happened with this. And again, part of it is the Americanization. Like they were just they have to change a lot of shit if they're still making him a nerd and fitting into that trope. But it just really messes everything up. Not to mention, in order to make him a likable person, they had to make him so stupid that he could be manipulated in this way.
Yeah, that his characterization's kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Can I bring up a small point?
Go for it.
One of the very first things around the time the movie came out, I looked up comparisons to it because, believe it or not, I actually saw the movie before the show.
Oh, what?
Oh,
Yes.
my God. Oh, my God.
Oh,
Sound the alarms.
Poor man.
But to be fair, I was watching a guy watch a live stream with a bunch of fans.
Okay, gotcha.
So, one of the first comparisons I saw was Light meeting Ryuk. And Light Turner spends maybe 2.5 minutes screaming nonstop as soon as Ryuk appears, while Light Yagami gets jump scared for a brief second and then is immediately cool with seeing Ryuk.
It goes full like, okay, nope, I'm a seasoned sociopath. This is fine. Like, cool, scary demon dude. Yeah, you probably gave me this fucking devil book.
Yeah.
I presume you're connected to it. And that's the other thing, is he also... you know what? This isn't even our show notes, but I'm just going to real briefly, while we're on that, the pacing.
Really bad.
It took, in the original show, 10 minutes for Light to kill 2 people and for him to understand what the book was.
Yeah, this one happens like after the first act.
Yeah, first act is done and he the first act ends with him finally figuring out how to use the book, and that's maybe 30 minutes in. If you wanted to fully tell this story, which there's a lot of shit that they left out.
Cut like 20 minutes.
Yeah, you could easily have had him just done the same thing. Book lands in his lap. Oh, this must be a joke. I'll just write down someone's name on TV and see if it works. Holy shit, that works. Mm-hmm. And then he goes and tests it out on someone that's actually doing a really heinous crime.
Yeah, the first act could have just been him finding the notebook quick, then testing it out, then finally like one big act that sets off the whole
like having
investigation and everything.
Yeah, but like it takes almost halfway through the film for us to hit the point where he and Mia are actually creating Kira.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of
by the way, the explanation for why they have that name is so fucking roundabout. I hate it.
I can't. I couldn't with that part either.
Because it's like, yeah, Kira is like, it's a Japanese word, which, by the way, why, like, of all the things.
I think my favorite thing with them is like, yeah, we know we didn't cast Japanese people or make Light Asian at all, let alone set in Japan.
So
but
that he would know this fucking word.
We're still going to do this. It was so... Everything about it was forced, and again, this is stuff that I feel like our audience is already well aware of, but everything with this movie, when they are trying to adapt the original anime pieces, it just comes off bad.
Yeah. Because they want to have the best of both worlds. They want to tell their own story, but then they also want to adapt something that's already well known. And when you try to mesh those like puzzle pieces that just don't fit together, like when you try to just mash them, like it turns into a shitty project.
Speaking of things that don't fit together, just as far as animation is concerned and how you can portray characters in anime, there's a suspension of disbelief.
Yeah. Talking about L.
Yeah, I don't think the candy thing or the squatting in the chair thing works when you're in live action. Period.
No, I disagree. And the only reason why I disagree is because they tried to make the candy thing specifically. I think that could have worked. But the candy thing, instead of being like this childlike thing that like, he just likes candy and he's just going to eat candy. Yeah. In this one, I'm telling you, Watari's like sitting, like driving him, and he's like, you will have this candy, and then you will go to sleep, and then your mind will recover for 10 minutes, which you will have optimal performance for 100. Like, he doesn't eat candy in the original because he wants to be smart. He just likes candy. We all like candy. We like candy. Like, come on. Okay. It's an easy reason. Can a character just like candy? I don't know.
They could have easily done it as like a passive, just like he has candy on him, like at any given scene.
Yeah,
just like always has a piece of candy.
Maybe his eyes light up when someone gives him candy. He's like, "Oh,
yeah." Maybe gets excited,
and then he goes back to serious. I don't know.
Calm.
Yeah, yeah. there's just so many things here that I was like,
he has a nervous breakdown and then just starts like fucking just like stuffing Snickers in his mouth. He's like, oh.
He doesn't do chocolate though. He only does hard sweet candy.
And but the way he does it too, like the original L, like had like was very like delicate. In this movie, he's just like
grabbing it right from the bowl and like
he's like just fucking hand fisting M&Ms and just smearing them in his mouth.
I will say, I personally, I thought that the actor for him did a phenomenal job.
Oh, yeah,
of working with what he was given. I think he was one of the
Emmy-nominated.
only enjoyable things to watch in the movie.
Yeah, he's Willem Dafoe, but
Willem Dafoe. Okay,
like
Willem Dafoe.
Him and Willem Dafoe are like the only like good things because they are actual actors. Like, I'm sorry, but Nat Wolff, you're not a real actor. When you've been when one of your main staples of your career is being a part of the Naked Brothers Band TV show,
Yep.
and that's our leading role.
Yeah.
Never mind being in the 2 John Green movies, Paper
Oh
Towns
my
and Falling
god,
Stars.
is he good in that?
You know what? Let's just
they're-
continue talking about Death Note.
Okay, yeah,
That's a topic for my channel. No, I'm kidding. Go
And
on.
Margaret Qualley, like she's gone on. I think she was like in Quentin Tarantino's movie at like one point,
Yeah.
like a part of a commune. But like Willem Dafoe and Lakeith Stanfield are really the only star. And Light's dad.
I mean,
He was okay.
He was okay. Everyone worked with what they were given. I think Light's dad is one of those characters that just kind of got away with doing what he was doing because he was competent and like he had probably one of the more grounded. He had one of the more grounded roles in the entire show.
Yeah, but I mean, back to L and like that whole thing. Those are the only actors that I can really look at them and go, I know you're good, which is why I like enjoy watching you in the shitty movie.
The piece for me that I feel like they just let completely get away with them, and this has to do with, again, making Light a dumbass, but also kind of the way that it's kind of a debate of like, was this L's character or was just this Light's character? Was we lost the game of cat and mouse between the two that actually made it work? Because really, the entire time, L should be like looking more closely at Light's girlfriend and should be. There's multiple times where the original L would have stopped to listen to what Light was saying instead of being like, no, you're a murderer and I'm bringing you to justice. Because like, he's like, dude, I can't stop this. You don't know what you're dealing with. And like any sensible person would be like, yeah, it is a little weird how you can just kill people remotely and make them do it themselves and control them and everything.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I should slow the fuck down and actually hear what's going on. But we don't really get that.
Yeah, that's
Like,
sort of
there's no-
soft. Like it's a lot more subtle in the anime.
Yeah, there's no L playing the long game. There's no L, like, kind of understanding that there's a bigger thing here at play. Because in the original, you have L completely understands the fact that there's Kira, but there's also, how the fuck is Kira killing people?
Yeah.
Like, we know it's a person, but how? And that's a bigger problem than it being a person.
Yeah, and I will say that, like, remember that test in the anime where, like, L, like, basically baits Kira into killing a person live on television? Where was that in the in the anime or in the Netflix movie?
I think it was supposed to be like himself as the threat, because don't forget, he does that with a mask on. His name wasn't even revealed on the broadcast. So he was just saying, if you're bold enough, strike me down right now. And then a minute or two passed, and then nothing happened.
Yeah. So he doesn't actually do anything to test his theory. He just kind of like has a theory in the beginning. And we don't.
It's not even proven right. Because in like him going on national TV and saying, Kira, strike me down, how would that, like, if you don't die, that doesn't prove that he's like afraid to kill you.
Yeah.
That could just prove that this whole thing is random.
Yeah, it's this very. The movie has so much like, oh, people watch this before, they understand what's going on, but like, you don't get the satisfaction of watching these two characters really just battle their wits out, which is everything that the original that the original show had.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But with this, it was just out of like completely unnecessary and like poorly thought out, and it felt like they should have just not had these characters be Light and L. They should have just had them be two different characters.
You don't need the Death Note in the story.
I think that you do for what they were trying to do. I think that you need a way to kill people remotely and do effectively what the Death Note does. But I don't think you needed the same characters. This could easily be a story where just this loser is given the Death Note this time, and then someone else.
Spin-off.
Yeah, it could easily be a spin-off type thing. You could just not use their names, not force us to associate them with their original characters.
Right.
And I would have a way easier time watching it and thinking of it as an adaptation.
Yeah.
I think that really like kind of makes like the point, but like because Netflix takes a lot of stories and like makes it their own way, but at the same time still trying to be like the original.
Like the original.
So because like back to the Mia and Misa, we get completely different character vibes for both of them, but you can tell that they're trying to get L and Light to be like them, but at the same time that they're not.
Yeah, and it always feels incredibly forced just from every single angle, and I feel like with L, also his handler Watari just becomes a much more prominent figure in this.
Yeah, because like he's the whole reason why, like he's basically the vessel for getting L's true name.
Yeah,
and like that whole thing, and his role with him, like he was a lot more of like a father figure type for L, and drove his arc into that, like, which is why he at the end of the movie, like he's like yelling, ranting, and raving with like waving his gun. There's that whole chase scene, at the end, and that wouldn't have happened without Watari's death.
Yeah,
so
that is something that we would have never seen L do in the original. And also, it felt really weird to kind of have it, because when we're talking about the original, and this is an adaptation, so we have to talk about the source material. Mm-hmm. The original way that Light gets L's name and gets all the information in order to actually off him is some of the craziest like 4D chess that you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And like,
that's the thing
having it being boiled down to just like, I'm going to control him for 2 days and then burn his name from the page. And also they just make up rules in the book whenever it's convenient.
I did want to talk about because another thing that I read, I believe they were actually told, the creators were told not to change any of the rules, but there was no thing about adding rules.
Yeah.
So I think like the only kind of change was about whoever touches the Death Note can see Ryuk, because only Light was the only person who could see Ryuk, even though many people touched the Death Note throughout this movie.
Yes.
And even paper.
So they broke that rule.
So,
they even explicitly said only the owner of the Death Note can see it, where in the original there's a whole scene like the first time that Light has someone else in his apartment where he's like, you know, if that girl touches that book, she'll see me, right? And he's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, it just completely catches him off guard.
There's another thing in the Netflix movie or in the original movie where they're like, you can't write down something that is like physically impossible.
Yeah.
Oh, and like in the movie, like one of the conditions for the ending is that Mia like accidentally let go of his page and then burned it in a fire nearby.
Yeah.
Which
that's not her death. That's just something that happens after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had to process, because like this was definitely a topic I really wanted to bring up, because this is really like the only big smart play, not even just by Light, but just throughout the whole movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the close second would be Mia taking the page, writing Light's name on it, and like saying that she was gonna burn it later. But
but get me the fucking
note. And it just goes like back and forth with them, which sucks, because that's what we really wanted to see with Light and L.
Here's the thing: I can't even call that smart, because the whole thing is predicated on the book page landing in a random fire. Like that just seems like random chance to me, as opposed to like something that can like.
I don't remember like if it. I wasn't paying attention for it, but like. If he lit the fire on his, but that doesn't make any fucking sense because he just fucking ran. Yeah,
like we were at like a carnival.
Yeah, it was a carnival. He's like, oh yeah, there just happened to be a trash can fire there.
I think the fire was caused as a result of the Ferris wheel and the electricity thing.
Yeah, but it was like in a neat little trash can.
Oh
It
yeah,
was like
it was like a hobo
it was
fire.
it was a hobo fire.
Yeah. I don't know,
Because if we go into too much about how convoluted this movie is, we're going to be here for too long. I want to just real briefly before we get into something a little bit more fun to talk about with this is Ryuk. So, Willem Dafoe, thank you for making the movie bearable.
Yes, thank you, Willem Dafoe. I appreciate you.
Yes, your work is always appreciated. I do find it very bizarre, though, that, and again, this is all, it feels like it's all in the sake of keeping Light as the main character, is that Ryuk got transformed from this person that was supposed to be just impartial force on the sidelines to just like, yes, murder as many people as possible. I like the girl better than you. Maybe she should have held the note. Like,
I didn't mind it. I don't know.
I didn't mind that part either, to be honest.
Really?
But like,
I felt like it was such a departure from the character. Because to me, the character was just like, I want to see this person dig their own grave. And I want to see the chaos that's caused.
Active versus passive.
Yeah.
I feel like either way, I think both the anime and the live action are like, they both like really just don't give a shit about the stuff that's happening. And they're just kind of like dicking around, see what happens, like fly on the wall.
Yeah.
I think he still did that. And I personally just liked the more active Ryuk.
That is fair.
Honestly, the heckling Ryuk is actually kind of
the heckling Ryuk
funny.
is top notch.
Yeah.
And especially the way that the movie, I will say, the way that the movie ends is actually like, if the movie just had been better, I would have enjoyed. It's just you see L like finally finding a page, and the movie actually sets itself up pretty brilliantly in the fact that like L probably thinks he's crazy because he has no hard proof that this Death Note is going to work, but you can tell that he's about to write Light's name down. And then just like Ryuk turning
his father.
or someone.
anybody.
But like Ryuk turning and then just saying, oh man, humans are so interesting and fucking taunting Light.
Yeah.
And it's just this idea of just like Ryuk teasing him knowing whatever was just written down on that page or if something was written down on that page.
Yeah. That's why I like, especially like that final like nail in the coffin and like his words being the last. That's why I'm like, I forgive, and Willem Dafoe's performance.
Oh,
like
100%.
All together, it just makes me go, I don't mind Ryuk.
Yeah, from his voice to like the I forgot if they use like a motion cap for him. I think it is.
They did do
motion cap. They motion captured just the face.
That I know.
But the rest of the body, that's like practical mixed with CGI.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely had a body actor in for that, but like his. Also, Ryuk actually looks good throughout this entire movie
because they keep him in the shadows.
Yeah, because they never show
shadows,
you
show
too
him from
much.
behind.
Yeah,
like,
and like little eyes. Practically, they got the practical effects down. I will say they did turn it into a little bit of Final Destination for pretty much all the Death Note kills.
I didn't mind it. I'm not gonna lie.
It was visually entertaining.
Dude, the ladder kill is actually probably my favorite one.
And that's the reason why, like, when I think of this movie, there's parts of it where I'm just like, I was genuinely entertained through portions of it, but God, is it an awful adaptation?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Like, so.
Well, that kind of brings up like how to even make an adaptation like well.
Of this,
yeah.
Well, again, so I preface this. The obvious answer would be stick closer to the original source material.
Yeah.
That's the obvious answer. But if we wanted to do an Americanized version of this, how do we do that?
So it goes back to what I said earlier about like specifically Light's character. If you can make him work, you can make the whole show work. And the nerd trope just does not translate well at all, especially in America.
So
you have
what are we vibing with?
So you kind of have to give him a trope that sets him apart from everyone, where he is socially in school like at the top, but also not to where he's like an obvious antagonist. So think of like, honestly, like think baseball player, or think like
I was actually
like
I had a
go
stupid
for it.
one.
No, go for it.
So this might be more true to us because we came from performing arts schools, but if you were to pair it with a fucking theater lead, have it be like, because you could.
Oh my god, the
drama, and also the fucking like how good you would be at lying because I'll be straight.
Oh my god,
everyone knows that constant male theater lead who is totally a sociopath. Everyone knows that person.
Dude, you said that. That's way better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, we put him as a theater. Put him as the theater.
You make Light a theater kid, and that's actually the scariest thing in the world.
Oh, that's terrifying.
But like the point is, you have to understand the tropes in Japan and why they work, and because that's the main problem that I have with this adaptation is that they don't understand what made Light Light. It wasn't that he was smart, not just that he was smart. It was also that he was likable. He was charismatic. He was popular. Like, and that's like seeing that, like, honestly, that two-faced persona, my favorite part, where he is like smiling and then like it'll cut to like that red light hue of him just like evil, like the evil smile. Yeah. You can, that's how you do it. You just need to understand the tropes. And
that's definitely what I really like about the anime, because I have a really big thing for antagonists and like villain-esque characters. Mm-hmm. So like, seeing essentially Light's descent into madness was really fascinating to me. And it sucks because Netflix did not do that justice.
Yeah. No, there was no descent into madness. By the end, he's a blubbering, sorry dumbass who's like, he still gets caught in the end. His dad still knows. Like, the jig's up by the end of everything.
That's actually another thing that was I read about online, that Yagami doesn't really Turner doesn't really care about getting caught. Yagami has plan after plan to make sure it never looks like he does that.
Yeah.
So to answer your question about what I would change to make it more likable or whatever, for sake of words. One, I wouldn't remove the chip scene.
Yeah, you got to keep the chip scene.
Oh my god, was so good in the original.
Iconic to this day. But I wouldn't want to have the title as Death Note and like completely base it off the original source material. I would rather have it like kind of be like, I think we mentioned this earlier too, like kind of like a subplot of the original Death Note.
Okay, yeah.
Like kind of based on it, but like not like entirely based on it. Like not Light, not L, not Misa rather, but like its own characters, its own storytelling. Like, kind of an example would be My Hero Vigilantes, the side story for My Hero.
Yeah.
Like something like that.
Yeah, if you could treat it like that in the same universe, sort of similar setups, but take its own spin on it, I think that would be good. And like there is definitely a story here of like a kid getting way over his fucking head.
It can be done
with it. Yeah, and I think that it was done here, actually, but there was too much like trying to be Light and not trying to be Turner.
Yep.
Like,
honestly, I would love to have watched a pathetic loser kid a loser virgin who basically like wants to get a girlfriend who kills a bunch of people with a magic notebook. That would have been kind of fun.
Yeah, and I think that's where we were kind of going with this, but there just wasn't a lot actually. They weren't focused on that part of the story. They just used it as setup and then tried to tell Light's story.
Yeah.
So for me, I will say, I'm vibing with the theater kid thing.
Yeah, as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, holy, especially because of the dramatic angles that the monologues he has.
Yeah.
Where he's like, yes, I've won, I've done it.
It's my god, there's one clip of him standing over Elle's grave. I'm in the original.
Oh yeah, that's what I thought. What the Barry Allen
Barry Allen peace signs. No, that one cackling monologue that he has in the original, or at least I think that's in one of the.
I forget.
That might be in one of the movies. I
forget what it was.
But taking that sort of over the topness, I think the other thing is just as far as Elle is concerned, making it so that he's a lot more of just have him be at least a little bit more of a presence.
Yeah. And
introducing him to like, because you could still do this half-hour run and still, if you wanted to be corny as fuck with it, let's take the theater kid angle. You could still have Elle infiltrate the high school.
Yeah.
And he could probably totally fucking fit in with everything that's going on in there.
Yeah.
Like basically it comes down to like, if you are going to do this, I mean, okay, you know what? Fuck it. No. You can still have dumbass Light Turner, but put Elle in the fucking high school. Put him there. Have him figure out that it might be someone. Have him figure out that it might be Light, and his way of investigating is to do what they did in the anime.
School paper.
Yeah.
Honestly, wait, because
what we lose, the biggest thing that we lost was the dynamic between the two. There's not enough screen time between the two. There's not enough of them pressing. And the first time that he is ever on screen with Light, he's like, "You're Kira."
Yeah, he's in a coffee shop in the weird
I gotta be honest, I actually really like that scene.
I liked it, but it just felt like it wasn't earned.
I think it's just because it was like the one dynamic they really did have.
It was
it's one of the only scenes they had together up until like later on.
Later
like
on,
when,
the end, a little bit when L like jumps onto their table in the house.
Yeah.
Like, starting to get mad.
If they were gonna put them in high school together, that probably could have worked.
Yeah,
they just need to be on. They are the dynamic. Death Note isn't Death Note without L and Light. They need to be in the same.
The other thing that this is missing for me is I don't think it even knows what genre it is.
Oh no, it knows what it is. It's like teen pop, coming of age.
That it doesn't lean into it though.
It doesn't commit hard enough because it can't, because it's an anime adaptation of it's
an anime adaptation of what the story spans throughout like Light's adult life.
Yeah, they are Frankensteining a plot into another plot.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, when you try to make something your own while trying too hard to hold onto the source material, it never works out. You have to pick an avenue. You either make it faithful or you take your own spin on it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I believe that might actually be all the time we have for today.
Yeah, it sucks. Don't watch it.
We're not doing verdicts on this one. However, I am interested to hear from people in the comments and maybe the Apple reviews. I guess you can leave comments there. Let us know what you guys would have changed for this adaptation or how you make a working version of this story for an American setting.
Because it could work.
I think that there is genuinely something here.
Yeah.
But I'm really fascinated to see what other people are going to come up with if other people have angles that they can take it on. So leave that comment. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, hit that button. Helps us out. It's free. It's a big help. And I believe that's all for today.
Yep. Bye, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye. This episode of The Return of the Movie was produced by Matt Kime with music and editing by Benjamin Collins. The Return of the Movie is produced by ABBC Productions and released as part of the Scope Network. You can find more of our content and the rest of our podcast at youtube.com/Scope Productions.